Hey, it's Mike on the mic again for another episode of the Pocket Knife Podcast. 10 years ago, this coming Monday, my family and I packed up a large moving truck and aimed it for Pratt, Kansas. When we arrived at our new home across from Haskins School, we were greeted by members of our new church family. These folks and the half-dozen friends who'd come with us from our old church helped us unload the rental and return it, start opening boxes, and get computer networks set up. By the end of the day, we were sleeping in our own beds under familiar sheets and blankets in new bedrooms. We slept soundly enough, knowing we were loved by God and by His church. Shortly after move-in day, my wife secured a job at a nearby school, not the one across the street. My two daughters enrolled in the same school, and my eldest headed off for college a couple of hours away. The four of us who remained in Pratt got to know our community. We made friends in the church and outside of it. Many of those not from our congregation friendships were formed at the school where my kids went and my wife taught. I was out there too. I was hired as the lunch duty guy, the recess supervisor. At the church, we drew close to fellow believers as we together worked our way through Henry Blackaby's book, Experiencing God. After weeks and weeks in the book, we sensed God's calling to care for hurting people in a meaningful way. My wife and I had heard of Celebrate Recovery through her parents. Their church in Derby, Kansas, hosted a group every Friday night. We had plenty of former alcoholics, addicts, and hurting people in our little church here in Pratt to make forming a core group fairly simple. We sent a group to a one-day training seminar in Oklahoma City and ran into others from Pratt who were investigating Celebrate Recovery as well. Joining God in His work along with these others made perfect sense. By mid-2012, we had a core group of leaders preparing to start a public CR ministry. Launch day arrived on January 14, 2013. I don't recall how many people from the community showed up at that first meeting, but I remember the excitement of knowing God was at work. Our church has changed a lot since the day our CR began. The median age of our fellowship has skewed older as teens and 20-somethings have headed off for college or pursued work in other towns. Our attendance has contracted a bit as a result of this and the moving of several older attenders whose kids urged them to relocate. They insisted their aging parents needed to be closer to a son or a daughter. Completely understandable, but really hard on our church family. We miss these dear brothers and sisters. I'm not complaining, mind you. I'm sure God is still at work around us, and He is, as Blackaby states, inviting us to join Him in His work. I've heard rumblings recently from those who were part of the Experiencing God study in 2011. They're ready to do it again, and ready to do whatever God shows us He's got for us to do in response to His leading through the study. I mean, they want to, in addition to hosting and praying for Celebrate Recovery, serve God in new ways. I'm not surprised. I'm part of a great church full of great people who love Jesus and want others to know Him. We recognize we're a small church, but we're not panicked. At the urging of Carl Vaders, author of another book we've been through together, instead of saying, we're small, oh no, we're asking, we're small, now what? I don't know if another round of Experiencing God is where we're headed. What I do know is God has work for us to do, and I and my friends want to join Him in it. Pray for us as we seek to follow and obey God into the next 10 years. Pray for your church as you and your brothers and sisters seek to do the same in the next decade. Here's to decades and decades and decades and decades more given to Jesus and His service.